morning. So some of you arrived early and have been shopping, and we're so grateful for that. For those of you tuning in on Facebook Live, the used book sale has officially started, and there's lots of great deals. So I'll be talking a little bit more about that, but right now we just want to welcome you and recognize that we are here to we're the center. We inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives. I am in service today, Reverend Sue. If you need any prayer support afterwards, I'm happy to sit with you. Also, the practitioners want you to know that their numbers are listed in the awareness and online, so if you have any need during this time of separation, feel free to call any one of them, and they're eager to sit with you, talk with you on the phone, and help you find your clarity that you might need. So in this moment is a fun time to have Damien scan the audience, so you can, as you see each other, also wave to the wonderful people at home as their hearts and their bubbles and their happy faces float through the air, and we are connected as one. So we wave, we love, and we are just happy that we can gather in these ways to deliver important messages to each other. Damien, scan the book sale too, and then maybe they'll spot a title that they need. You never know. You never know what works. But I appreciate the team of women and men that helped to put the book sale together for you, and this will be going on for 3 weeks. So if you go home and read everything that you bought today, then you can come back again and buy more, right? I mean, missed 2 bags already. It's fun. So through September 13th, the sale goes on. We are also open during the week, Monday through Thursday, until 4:45 in the afternoon, if you want to come by and browse and during those hours as well. And then a few of us have dedicated our time for Thursday evenings from 5 to 7 for those of you that work and you want to have an opportunity to come by. There's a lot of novels, so if you are running out of material to read, there's some lovely things here for you to pour through. There's CDs also and DVDs, and some of you that travel back and forth, there's a lot of books on CD I noticed back there. The other announcement I want to make briefly is the Dow Watercolor Classes. They're going to be starting this week, and it's simple landscapes and creating some original paintings. Shari Wyndham has the information for that in the newsletter, and also you can check in with the office to get the details on that. But it's exciting. What I've been hearing from a lot of people is that during this time of COVID, the opportunity to play with the watercolors has been spiritually life-changing for them. And then we're still going on through December with our midweek calls on Wednesday at 10 a.m. That's a nice time to say hello to each other. And you can get that invite to the Zoom through Lori in the office. Ava Malinowski is doing her Paint and Pour Your Art Out workshop. And that is going to be Saturday, September 5th from 10 to noon in the social hall. It's only limited to 10 people as we honor space, and there's a deadline to register September 2nd. So that is an opportunity that is a lot of fun as well. And then finally, in the craziness of these times, the board and the ministers and the practitioners are going to celebrate our community by having not a parking lot sale. And we're not going to do that until May next year, but we are going to do an invitation to all of you to have you drive by, love the center, offer a donation into a bucket, and we also are doing a canned food drive for the community. So it's just a time. We're going to have music with the 360 band. So it's a time just to plug in, just to come by and say hello from 10 to noon on September 19th. So think about that, September 19th. We're not having a parking lot sale. The next day, though, there'll be a surprise of a mini sale, but that's going to be just in-house here with a few things set up out there. So that's a lot of wordiness, but we're going to keep reminding you, and we want you to share the word with others, to invite them to join us and celebrate our center. We're doing very well, and we want to try to help balance out what we're not going to be making with the rummage sale, because it's a big fundraiser each year, so this will help us in a big way. So that's all the announcements I have, and please share the information with others. We're always amazed. We try to put it in print online, and we talk about it. We put it on Facebook, and then people say, I didn't know. So maybe by you sharing the word, that will help us. So if there's anyone new here, we have a friendship packet for you to pick up, but I think I recognize everybody. So let's go ahead with our reading and our program this morning. So I'll invite Damien up, then we'll sound the bell and do a prayer, and Dr. Mary has returned to speak to us, and the topic, the beauty of inclusion and diversity.
Good morning. The reading this morning is from the August 31st Daily Guide in the Science of Mind magazine, written by a practitioner by the name of Tracy Brown. It's titled, The Next Step. There is no end to the journey to inclusion. It's like going to a Disney park and realizing no matter how many times you go, there will always be something new to experience, or a new ride, or exhibit, or event to enjoy. Spirit envisioned and created a world that works for everyone. This perfect world already exists in the mind of God. But in the collective consciousness of humanity, we don't always recognize or value the planet we live on. We don't always recognize or engage respectfully with the variety of people in the world. We don't always recognize or accept that our individual choices lead to personal and collective consequences that separate us from experiencing unity and harmony. Science of Mind reminds us that we can always choose again. Principle is not bound by precedent. Each one of us can begin anew anytime we choose. Is now the time you choose to be an example of inclusion in action? Is it time for you to be someone who teaches others about oneness through your mutual respect and boundless love? When people interact with you, be sure they know that you see them as equal, valuable, beautiful, and valued expression of spirit. Show them you recognize their worth. Be an example of love. This is the next step. And the next step. And the step after that.
And we take this moment as we follow the bell, as it moves into silence. We follow it into our hearts, into the stillness, into the oneness. And we welcome love. And we allow that love to burst forth. And we allow ourselves to feel the inclusion of that love as we listen deeply to the wisdom today from Dr. Mary as she shares these ideas of inclusivity. And we recognize what is ours to do here. We are the ones, as we change deeply inside our own self, as we wake up to those places inside of us we did not understand or did not see, we change. And when we change, peace evolves. So we allow this love and this message today to change us. And as we each leave today, we recognize that we put this into action, and we are grateful. We are grateful for a center of like-minded people who continue to open to a greater understanding and truth. We're making a difference in the world, and together we travel as one in that love of understanding. So I release this prayer, knowing that it's already so. It's already so. And together we say, and so it is. Dr. Mary.
Good morning. So glad you're here. Good to see so many faces. It's exciting. You know, the Science of Mind magazine this month is Inclusion in Action, and all the articles are about that, and it's absolutely wonderful. So if you want to read more about it, they're in the bookstore for sure during the week. All right, the beauty of inclusion and diversity. You know, it was really fun this week to research the definitions of those two words, inclusion, diversity. And my favorite definitions were found on a Michigan University website. It was the Ferris State University's page in their diversity inclusion office. Okay, so we know what it's about. And their definition of inclusion, number one, is involvement and empowerment, where the inherent worth and dignity of all people is recognized. An inclusive organization promotes and sustains a sense of belonging. It values and practices respects for the talents of everyone, their beliefs, their backgrounds, and their way of living. Now, diversity is the range of human differences. The range of human differences. And I found this very interesting because it says it includes, but is not limited to, race, ethnicity, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, social class, physical ability, physical attributes, religious values, ethical values, national origin, and political beliefs. Now that's 13 differences, categories of differences, and I know there are more, but it was refreshing to me to hear that list. So I decided I wrote up these 13 up, and I made a little checklist, and I said to myself, how are we doing as a community here, as a spiritual family in Reading? Well, first I thought I better Google some statistics to see where we are. Yeah, could you close it? That would be good. Where we are as a county, because the county of Shasta, where we live, is not as diverse as San Francisco, but it's its own unique place. And here's what I found. Shasta County is a conservative area in the North State where 64% vote Republican. The population is 87% white, 1% African American, 2.8% Native American, 2.5% Asian, 2.5% other races, and 4% who have two or more races. So that's Shasta County. Using a scale of 1 as the lowest and 10 as the highest, regarding inclusion, I ranked us 8. Oneness is the number one principle of religious science, of science of mind, oneness. Sue and I, as well as the whole organization, are consciously aware and believe in the inherent worth and value of every person. So when it comes to diversity, again, from the statistics, you can tell that it's a challenge. Martin Luther King once pointed out that Sunday morning was the most segregated part of the week because most congregations are pretty homogeneous. But when I read the definition of diversity, it's not limited to 1 or 2 traits, but 13. And I didn't give us a 10 on any of those categories, but I gave ours 5 to 8 in several of the categories. Not all of them, but many of them. When it comes to age, we probably have a way to go. Where are the kids? Where are the young people? Where are the 30-somethings? You know, it's physical abilities, that's another one. So I think we're about in the middle of the road on diversity. One article in the Science of Mind magazine this week was by Ed Stetzer, who oversees the Billy Graham Center for Evangelism. And his point was that diversity is often limited by cultural preferences. And that can be the style of the building, it can be the type of music that you have, or the structure of, in our case, our services. So you see the style of this building. I don't think it's too intimidating for everyone, but it's full of love. I know when some people come here for the first time, they go, I just feel the love in this building. So that's a wonderful thing to share with us. Now, the music that we play probably doesn't irritate many people. We don't do a lot of hip hop or hard rock, but that eliminates the people who do like that. So our music is another way that maybe limits our diversity. And so I think it's time to talk about that. You know, maybe there are some ways to expand the diversity of our services or even the classes that we offer. Is it important? I think in this world today, it's very important. The more we segregate ourselves by things as simple as music and classes, it says this oneness idea is really important, isn't it? So it's really something to think about. Diversity expands our perspective and our understanding. And diversity, I like what this gentleman said. You know that old milk commercial? It does your body good. It does your body good to associate with other people who aren't always like-minded, but who are valuable in and of themselves. Tracy Brown, as you heard from the reading that Damien did, she's a practitioner who's African American, and she served as president of the Centers for Spiritual Living Leadership Council for 7 years recently. Brilliant woman. And in her article in this issue, she remembers a time when she was facilitating a workshop, and after a small group session, someone said to her, "Why is diversity such a big problem?" She said the room was silent. And she said, diversity is not the problem. It's the stories we tell about diversity that are the problem. The stories we tell. Because we're all humans, but we're not the same. The challenge is we've created false stories about what differences mean. You know, I thought about that and I reflected on growing up in Midwestern Ohio and Clark County, a very conservative county, 88% white, 9% African American. I would never repeat some of the stories I heard growing up. That hit me, isn't it? Ooh, because they're not true. And then there were the occasional bigots who had hatred and intolerance for people who were different. So I find it very interesting. I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, you know, so I find it interesting we haven't come very far, or not far enough, when it comes to be prejudice based on fear. The top ethnic groups in Ohio: German, Irish, and English. Growing up, my Uncle Bud, when all us kids would get together, all us cousins, we would talk and talk and talk, and I guess we were not very quiet, because he would say, "My God, you kids are Dutch." We'd say, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're so windy." The Dutch have all these windmills, and that's all he could think about. You kids are just so windy that you're Dutch. I didn't know I wasn't Dutch. I didn't know I was or wasn't. But a few years ago, I got tested by that company, 23andMe, and I'm 94% English. Little bit Scotch-Irish, with a little tiny bit of Neanderthal. Where did that come from? But I've heard that people who have large English descent do have a little tiny bit of Neanderthal. I don't know. So last night I was talking to my husband Paul about this, and I said, "What about where you grew up in Crawford County, Wisconsin, on the river there?" And it was 96% white and 2% African American, and 55% of the people voted Democratic. The ethnicity in Wisconsin, in that area, is 42% German, 11 Irish, 9% Polish, and Paul's family is from Czechoslovakian descent. So interesting, different makeup. But you know, Wisconsin has great beer and sausage. And I'm thinking those German and Irish and the Polish really brought great talent to the country. You know, it's interesting, but it doesn't really change what we know today, that we're all created by the one loving God. We're all created by the one. In another article in the magazine this month by Jeffon Seeley, he asks, "What does it mean for us as human beings to consciously embody the idea that all humans are inherently equal and worthy of inclusion, regardless of differences?" He asks because he feels that without a culture of equality in communities, and I would say especially a church community, that true and lasting inclusion is still a way off. It's not a reality for everyone in the world. As a child, Seeley grew up in an interracial family, and he was ostracized by his classmates, by his teachers, and by the neighbors. But he had no way of processing this. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why. He knew he looked different, but he didn't understand why the prejudice. But looking back as an adult, he can see that his self-image, due to all that, was one of being inferior. By seeing himself inherently inferior, everyone around him seemed superior. They ignored him, his goodness, his creativity, as well as he did himself. And he adopted a victim identity. He calls it the dyad of superior-inferior, because feeling inferior, everyone else was superior. So he invites us to look back in our years growing up and all the countless experiences we had that contributed to the way we saw ourselves and how we see ourselves today. I wasn't going to put this in here, but I'll tell you anyway. I grew up Catholic, went to Catholic grade school, wore uniforms, went to Catholic high school, wore uniforms. Everybody was felt like the same, except in high school. And then I felt very ostracized because I didn't have a dad. We lived in a poorer neighborhood, couldn't do many of the things all the other kids could do. And so all these cliques formed. And my little clique was Kathy and I. And we still communicate. We still write to each other after all these years. But we didn't give up. We knew that we were worthy people. And of course, that shifted as it does with most of us as we grow up. But then he asked, how are we feeling inferior or superior to others today? And if we feel superior, to other people at any level. We don't listen to them. Their voice isn't as important. How can I be concerned about you if I think you're inferior? Even being present in this room, if I think any of you would be inferior, you wouldn't be appreciated. And so this is what he's pointing out, to really take a look. Is there anyone in any way, differences in diversity or anything, that you feel superior to? It's time to go back to the oneness of the loving God. Because when someone does feel inferior, they don't speak up. But we could invite them in. We could talk to them. We could share with them. We could sit with them at a class, or some way give them the sense that I see you, I recognize you, and you are valuable. So inclusion means action, taking action. And it's really simple. We can tell the shy people, when this room used to be filled full of people and the newest people sit in the back near the door ready to go, and we can talk to them and invite them in and show them around. So it's a process. And showing them that we appreciate our oneness is really simple. At the end of the article, though, he says equality, feeling equal, can't be just handed to you. It can't be just written down in a magazine. You are equal. We are all one. We have to discover it in ourselves. So what we can do is be catalysts for helping people discover that themselves, because it's in there. It just needs to be appreciated and shown, given some light of day. At times like this being what's happening in the country, I find comfort in the book, It's Testament of Hope, The Essential Writings and Speeches of Martin Luther King, Jr. It's about this thick. It's a fabulous reference book. But in 1962, he gave a speech defending his philosophy on integration. He said there must be recognition of the sacredness of human personality. Was he channeling Ernest Holmes? I don't know. Deeply rooted in our political and religious heritage is the conviction that every man is an heir to a legacy of dignity and worth. Integration seems almost inevitably desirable and practical because basically we're all one. The world's foremost anthropologists all agree that there is no basic difference in the racial groups of this world. We are by nature societal creatures. At the heart of all civilization is community, the cooperative and voluntary venture to assume responsibility for our brothers and sisters. This is the best part. I just love his eloquence. All life is interrelated. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. I'll read that again. All life is interrelated. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Brilliant man. So in all that I've read this week, I really like this simple description. In any group, diversity is what you have, inclusion is what you do with it. Diversity in this room. It's amazing, the diversity in this room. You're all wearing different colored clothes. Diversity. But inclusion is what you do with it. You really look good in blue today. Inclusion is what you do with it. In this center, we know, I know, everyone is welcome. And the principles we believe in embrace oneness, love, goodness, freedom, and more. We invite everyone to come and learn with us, to experiment with these truths that we know to be so. Our vision is that we inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives. Our mission is to be a welcoming and inclusive spiritual community, teaching and living the universal principles of science of mind, to be the change that we know is possible for the world. So what are our core values? Did you know we have core values in this philosophy? Well, if they're found in the ODM. The ODM is the Organizational Design Model, and it was put together by the leaders of the Centers for Spiritual Living when we merged with United Centers. I'd be happy to send you the ODM if you're interested in reading it. It's a fascinating, it's only about 20 pages, but it's very great reading. And it lists 5 core values. Number 1 is accountability. We account for our activities in a very transparent manner, and we accept responsibility for our action and the obligations entrusted to us. Core value number 2, open communication. We openly communicate with each other in an atmosphere of collaboration and inclusion. Core value number 3, financial health and prosperity. We value the principle of abundance and its expression as prosperity as a means to provide resources for our center, our personal and collective vision. Core value number 4 is love. We express love that is moving through us into expressions of compassion, caring, mutual respect, and kindness. We express love as community service and safety. We create a climate that enables honest reflection and deep and direct communication. Core value number 5 is spiritual living. It's expressed in several ways. We live principle-centered, spirit-led lives. The number 1 way we express spiritual living is by embracing and celebrating each person's uniqueness and the contribution of all people. This is expressed through differences of gender, ethnicity, culture, history. We've talked about those before. We express spiritual living by awakening to our individual spiritual magnificence through educational classes, workshops, retreats, seminars. We embrace education as a lifelong learning endeavor. We also express spiritual living as the inner deep work of self-discovery and healing through the continuous improvement in revealing our relationship with God. So Paul reminded me yesterday as he read this talk and reread it, and he said, you need to have a test. Give him a test. He said, if we've embodied these core values, we need to monitor our reactions to what others say and do, our level of respect or disrespect regarding what other people do or say, and our reaction to how we see ourselves speaking and acting in challenging situations. Thank you, Paul. That's quite a test, isn't it? One we can do every day. So if you've been watching our services here and you're getting a sense of what we believe and our ideal world and how we see ourselves expressing and showing how it can be, I want to be clear. This isn't our center. It is the center. It's a center that welcomes you. And I invite everyone, if you've even got an inkling you want to know more, be more, see more, talk more, come and see us. It's not our center. It is the center, open to each and every one. So I'll close with a prayer on that. This divine message, the message that we are equal, we are one, we were made in the love and the image of God, is so powerful. And I know that I've accepted it for myself most of the time. And when I don't, I know where to go. I go back to principles. I go back to practices. I go back to prayer, affirmation, all the things that we do to center ourselves in the loving arms of the One. I invite everyone who's listening, watching, who's here personally, to use those tests every day this week. What am I hearing? What am I judging? What am I loving? What am I reacting to? Am I really seeing everyone as Dr. Martin Luther King saw everyone? Interrelated on a global level. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share what I've read this week and what I'm thinking about. How was it when I was growing up? What was it like then? What is it like now? How do I up my ante on life? How do I reach for the stars? So I let these words just sit with you today, knowing I'm going to be thinking about it a lot, and I hope you do too. Because it is the grace, fulfilling love of God that is operating here all the time, in, through, around us constantly. And it is good. It's the truth. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Lots of moments sitting there flashing back in my own mind of the diversity that I grew up with, wonderful memories. So this is the time we're coming to a close of our service, and I forgot to mention on the front door is a beautiful basket of harvested goods from Steve and Judy Carney Smith, and that's a gift to you. She put little paper bags out there. There's these amazing tomatoes, and Hazel and I were talking. They look like little tiny eggplants, but they're these amazing tomatoes. And then there's some cherry tomatoes and a few zucchini and cucumber. So grab your bag and grab your goods on the way out that door, this beautiful basket. And that was, she came by this morning, had prepared it all for you. So I forgot to mention that. There's my bag. I tried not to take everything, but I'm going to look for the leftovers. Because I tried to grow tomatoes and I got nothing. Not one thing. I know. I just can't do it this year. So now, speaking of goods and abundance, this is a time also that if you have an offering to give today, we invite you at each exit, there's a basket to drop your donation in. But let's bless those donations right now. As you think about your gift, think about these words. Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance, for I know as I give, I do receive. And truly that is the truth. As you give, you continually receive. Many of you donated these beautiful books and CDs. As you give, the church is receiving from your gifts now as we recycle the goods. And then we take in the money and we allow ourselves to allow that to prosper in ways that continue to benefit the center. It just keeps going. And it's because of you. Those simple gifts, those amazing gifts you give. This is what we have. So thank you for that. Is there a song tonight? Tonight. I'm already living the full day. We have a song from Damien, and it's going to be, what is it? Oh, Dalton. I do this all the time, Damien and Dalton. I was going to have you perform. So, Out Beyond by our Dalton. So allow the music to fill your spirit. Take it with you through the week along with with Reverend Dr. Mary's message to you today. And we are grateful for all of you being here today. And you have as long as you want to shop. We're here to serve you. So thank you for being here today. Music.
Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. A field of love, a field of forgiveness, a peace which passeth understanding. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. A field of love, a field of forgiveness, a peace which passeth understanding. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong, there's a field. I'll meet you there. There's a field. I'll meet you there.
What a perfect song. There's the field.